Protecting your gold and silver is just as important as investing in it. And in this video, we're going to cover some of the best ways to securely store your precious metals, whether it's in hiding places or storing them in certain containers. So whether you're stacking them at home or using a third-party service. Let's break it down. So why do we store our precious metals the way we do? Well, other than the obvious, we want to keep them secure away from people who aren't supposed to see them or know about them. We want to reduce the risk of theft, and obviously the way that we store them and where we store them is important. We're going to cover that here in this video, but obviously the end goal maybe at some point is to liquidate or sell these investments. So doing it properly is going to set yourself up to, one, at least have these ready to go, and B, to sell them and to maintain the highest level of quality as possible. So I want to talk about storing your precious metals at home. And this is what a lot of us tend to do. And, when it comes to safes, I'm going to say that this is the one area you really don't want to be cheap in. I mean, you want to have a good, high quality safe. One that's got a fireproof rating or burglary rating. I mean, there's different ratings for different things. And I'm not going to go too much into that in this video, but just understand that home safes are a really good option for you when it comes to storing your precious metals. Now, the next factor that comes into play, obviously, is the placement of the safe. Now, you want to avoid, no matter what you do not want to store anything of value in the master bedroom. That's going to be the first place that anybody who comes in is going to look for. I mean, that's where we tend to naturally put our things that we deem as high value. So, in a safe in the closet or anywhere under the mattress type of thing is probably not the best idea. Now, I'm not against safes being in a spot like the master closet. In fact, I think a dummy safe is a good idea as well. But if you are going to keep a safe in a place like the closet or in a spot where people are going to naturally look at first, just make sure it's in a spot where it's not going to be as easily accessible for someone to use tools to try to open up the safe. And at a bare minimum, it should also be bolted to the ground and to the wall or something so that people can't just pull the safe out and then wheel it outside and take it with them and then have more time, off-site to open it up. Now, this next point I'm not going to get too into because I personally believe that people should have their own locations throughout the house that they store them in, and I encourage people to be creative with it. Now, I'm not going to ask people to share ideas because I don't want people with bad intentions to stumble across this video and start seeing what people do, because more likely than not, one of those ideas is probably something that we're doing already. So I'm not going to give any secret storage locations that I have them hiding in because I don't want to give away anything. And I mean, not that anyone here probably would do anything malicious, but again, I think less is more in this case. And if I encourage everybody to just use their own ideas, get creative, but have locations all throughout the house. Now, there is an off-site option. If you want to store your precious metals, you can put them in bank safety deposit boxes or third-party vaults. Benefit of that is, you don't have to store it in your house. You don't run the risk of someone stealing it inside your house. It usually has some sort of 24/7 security. It's insured. It's very secure. You have these benefits to it. I'm personally not a fan of them. And an example I'm going to give you guys, if you remember, the Oxford Gold Group incident that happened, I think it was earlier this month, where they claimed that they had clients' gold and silver in storage, and when people were trying to access them, they didn't actually have them anymore. So you run the risk of potentially never being able to see them again. So I'm not a fan of offsite storage. I'd rather have the peace of mind knowing it's in my home in a place that only I know where it's at and that I only have access to. So let's talk about how to store. Now, let's say you have a place where you want to store it. Let's talk about how you should store it. So depending on the type of silver that you have, it's going to have a different type of strategy. Now, for example, like this junk silver here, we're not going to really store these in anything specific. I mean, it's technically called junk silver for a reason. We don't care if it starts tarnishing or getting kind of ugly and things like that. So when it comes to junk silver, it doesn't really matter. But when it comes to the government-backed bullion or the rounds, for example, you want to put them in these type of tubes. Now, this one specifically is for the American Silver Eagle, and this one is for the Gold Eagle. Now, these tubes are meant to mainly do the rounds or the government-backed bullions, but since I don't have any American Silver Eagles, I'm just going to keep them in these tubes for now because they still do the same amount. They still do the same job. So keeping them in here is better than having them be exposed to where they can start toning or tarnishing. Now, I do have this 10-ounce bar as well, but this is still in its wrapping, and I haven't decided whether or not I'm going to open it or not. I'm probably not going to. I'm probably going to keep it in its plastic wrap, just again to secure it and keep it in its condition as much as possible, because toning and tarnishing are just some things that you do want to avoid when it comes to storage. Now, let me be clear. Some people do like the toning. I do think it does have some allure to it. But again, you don't know what's going to happen because tarnishing and toning are chemically the same thing. It's just visually one's going to look nicer than the other, and you don't really know how it's going to look. So to prevent the tarnishing, you really want to keep them secure in these tubes or even in these little plastic, or not these plastic, but these little silica gel things that you kind of see them sometimes when you buy new clothes. It keeps the moisture out. You want to put these like in the safe, or you want to put them in a place where if you're going to have something not in a tube, if it's going to be directly exposed to the air, you want to have that be in there as much as possible, because again, you're trying to preserve it as much as possible. Now, before we wrap this video up, there's one more point that I kind of want to touch up on, or even re-emphasize, if you will. So, storing your precious metals in containers like these tubes and these plastic wraps, they're going to help preserve the quality of it in the long run. And that's very important. But also what's important as well is where you store your precious metals. Now, again, I am of the belief that you want to have them spread out in multiple locations, and you really want to add layers of security. So having alarm systems, surveillance cameras, or even if you have a dog, anything you can do to add barriers and reduce the time that someone's going to be able to spend looking for your precious metals is definitely going to help you when it comes to storing your precious metals. And probably the most important and biggest rule to follow when it comes to protecting your precious metals is to not tell anybody that you have them. I know it can be very tempting, and we get really excited and we want to tell our friends and family and people that we're close to that we think that gold and silver is the best investments, and you don't know who you're going to tell that might not have the best intentions. So I've always seen it as an inner versus outer circle. So I'm going to explain that just real quickly, but your inner circle group are your friends, your family, people who come into the house maybe to work on something, to fix something, the people that you talk to, your neighbors, the ones that you just do a quick little chit chat. Those are going to be the ones that probably tell someone, or they themselves try to plan something because they know where you work, they know when you work, they know when you're going to be out of town, things of that nature. So you want to be careful with the inner group of circle. The outer group of circle, those are the ones like here on YouTube, where we have different channels. There's different YouTubers who are talking about their precious metals. They're advertising, making videos like myself, showing that what they've got. And I don't think the outer group of people are not going to cause the problems, because they're just here for education and entertainment for the most part. I mean, they're not going to know who you are, where you live, none of that stuff. So, it does seem a little counterproductive, or what's maybe the better word is an oxymoron, to be saying, hey, don't tell anyone, but at the same time making videos about me having all this stuff. But I think that the outer group of circle of people are not going to be the ones who are going to cause you the problems. It's your inner group of people. Well, that's going to do it for today's video, guys. Let me guys know what you think in the comment section down below. Do you guys agree or disagree with anything that I said? And if you guys found this video helpful, please don't forget to hit that like button and the subscribe button. And we will catch you guys in the next one. Bye-bye, guys.